I was in the process of pursuing my doctorate for about 5 years. I'd already achieved my master's degree and I had finished coursework. All of that had gone pretty according to plan. It had gone well. I'd learned a lot. I was really happy where I was. However, after the point of finishing my coursework and taking exams and having only dissertation writing on my plate, I started to feel like I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I started feeling like the motivation wasn't there anymore and my heart wasn't in it. It was mostly one of those gut feelings. I was just feeling a lot of disconnect between the priorities that I talked about having and wanted to have and the lifestyle I wanted to be living and the way my daily life was actually playing out. So I talked to my husband a little bit about it. He has some very practical advice. He's very practically minded, and we definitely had some great conversations. I also talked to Amy Meyer here. She's been a great friend and coach to me the past couple years. So she and I talked a lot about that idea of feeling a little bit stuck or lost and not really having a clear sense of direction. I talked to my life group about the changes I was thinking about when I was feeling really ill at ease and I had reached a point where I knew changes had to happen. I knew I had to make the changes I was thinking about into a reality. And so I was still struggling with things a lot, and there were definitely some tears. That happens a lot in a life group, especially from me if I am surrounded by the community where I feel really comfortable, and it's such a safe space that you almost can't help but just sort of pour your soul out. And so that was the early months of spring when I got to share those sort of fears and thoughts and ideas about change with my life group were difficult but really empowering too, because people were really supportive even though they knew that it was going to be a difficult change for me. We just tried to trust God and to trust that that we'd be okay while we were figuring things out and while I was prayerfully considering what my future was going to look like. I keep using the word nudge. I started to feel a nudge from God. Not something physical, but something that he kept putting on my heart and my mind to respond to the ways that he was speaking to me, and that came in the form of being involved with the board here at church, which I have been for a little over a year and a half now, and just being in tune to some of the sort of practical needs that Pastor Jeff and the Director of Operations, Dan Haupt, had communicated to us. We're transitioning to the model of having multiple sites, and Dan is stepping into the role of site leader of the Fitchburg site, and that means that he had to try to get some of the more administrative and staffing management duties off of his plate. And so he and Pastor Jeff told us about that at a board meeting, and I had a lot of questions. I had recently finally made the big step and made the change of leaving my graduate program, and I was in a real state of limbo. I did not know what the next step was going to be. But as soon as I started hearing about this, I had some excitement because I thought, well, I don't have a lot of direct experience with these things, but it's a spot in this ministry where I could potentially serve and I could be involved, and I just got really excited about it. I think spirituality to a certain extent is embraced by American culture, but to be religious, and I mean that in the sense of being passionate about how you pursue your faith, is not necessarily always smiled upon. And so I've struggled with how that looks, how it looks to be a follower of Christ in the true sense, and not just someone who likes to talk about being a churchgoer or who goes to church, but that doesn't have any real impact in their daily lives. So I've definitely struggled, and I continue to struggle with making the priorities that I have as a result of my faith life something that actually motivates and ignites what I do on a daily basis. When I came to be on the staff here and to be involved more with the ministry on a daily basis, it's actually equipped me to become more bold. I've been able to, when someone asks what I do, well, I actually left my graduate program and I'm working at my church now. And I'm having time to talk to neighbors about that, to talk to former colleagues about that. And that's been a really nice surprise, is that it's been a sort of built-in aspect of this new position to be more bold in talking about my faith. I can honestly say that I don't know what the future holds for my family and for me. I'm just trusting in God, sort of one day at a time. It seems kind of scary when I say it that way, but I just really like where we're at right now with being surrounded by our friends who are an amazing community of faith. We have amazing families, and we're just trying to take it one day at a time and listen to where God's calling us. Another big piece though with finally surrendering and trusting more was feeling like it was time to stop talking about trusting God and time to stop thinking that I had a really strong faith and actually living that faith. So if I don't have this career path that has a lot of clout in American society, you know, in general, professors and people in academia are pretty well respected. If I didn't have that path anymore, it was scary to think about what I was going to have, who I was going to be, and something I've been struggling with for years, and I know I'm going to continue to struggle with, is defining my identity as being primarily a child of God and being someone who follows Christ. And I felt like I finally needed to make that my identity in real life, and coming to work at the church felt like it was a step in that direction. You know, now I consider a day successful if I got to spend time with my daughter and I got to meet someone new and have a conversation that I wouldn't have had time for before. And that's been amazingly fulfilling. I feel like I'm on the way to making a difference in God's kingdom. I feel like the church is equipping me to have the mindset to live church on a daily basis and to reach people who are totally outside of my, what I feel like is my realm of impact. So I feel like I'm definitely moving in the direction of playing a role in God's greater kingdom work. It's nice to be in a place where I still get to participate in the realm of ideas, the world of ideas, thinking through things at the vision level at church, and even in life groups we think about things on, you know, that larger level, but we also consistently talk about how we're trying to make those ideas reality and how they're going to affect people in daily life. I think God has a plan for me, and I'm not really cued in on the details of what that's going to look like in my life in the next year or 5 years, but I'm okay with that, and I'm excited about being on that path.